We know there are targets there to reduce pesticide usage or plant protection product usage by 2030. So he's going to talk to us about EU policy and seeing where that is going, what the alternatives are, and how that might affect then farmers on a practical level when they're trying to do their day-to-day job. So it'll be an interesting talk in terms of seeing where the direction of policy is going and what practical effect that's going to have on farmers.
The harvest is not over yet, with late sown crops like wheat, barley and beans still to be completed over the next week. If the weather plays ball, the area left should be very small this time next week. Many growers are now assessing this year's harvest and debating the plans for next year. Tillage farmers have always been excellent at keeping themselves up to date with the latest technologies and ways of doing things. This year's Teagasc Crops Forum has an excellent lineup to help farmers with current problems and also mapping out the future. You're listening to the latest episode of the Tillage Edge with me, Michael Hennessy. We would really appreciate it if you could listen, follow and give us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. Many people in the industry are saying the tillage industry is in real trouble with low margins and a dwindling land base. The Crops Forum will look at some practical solutions for this autumn and will provide a platform for farms to feed in their solutions on how to improve the industry. I'm delighted to be joined again by Shay, Phelan, a tillage specialist in Teagasc, and John Mahon, a signpost advisor in Teagasc, both who are presenting at the forum and are here to give a brief preview of the Teagasc Forum. Shay, you've been on the ground having a look at new varieties throughout the country this year. What sort of varieties do we expect the department will recommend on their list this year?
Yeah, I suppose, Michael, you're right. There's a couple of varieties that I'd be interested in seeing what the department have to say about in terms of their agronomic or their performance this year. There's one there, a barley and armadillo, which I'm kind of interested to see what they say about it. There's Bordeaux and there's Canyon. They're probably the three that I'd say on the barley front that I'd be interested to see how they perform this year. When it comes to wheat, probably not a huge amount of change, but certainly Champion is something that I'd like to see, and probably Spearhead are probably the two that I'd like to see how they've performed this year, because again, wheat is a crop that probably hasn't been as much many varieties, should I say, rather than coming through in the last couple of years. So I'd be like to see how they perform this year. And when it comes to oats, Michael, there's a variety called WPB Sean, which is an interesting looking variety. So I want to see if there's any information on that as well. So I suppose there are the varieties that I'd be interested in if a farmer was coming to have a look at or coming to the forum. They're the varieties that I'd be keeping an eye out for to see what the department say about those varieties on the day.
And hopefully they'll have some current information on those on the day as well.
Yeah.
The other one we were going to cover in that first session, Shay, was around the EU proposals around pesticide regulations and how that's going to come through in terms of the sustainable use regulation. And I think this probably has a potential to change the landscape of how we produce food in Ireland. We have the head of unit in the DG Sante, which is one of the major units within the EU, Andrew Owen-Griffiths, coming to the forum. What is Andrew lined up to cover in that?
Farmers, and most people are aware at this stage, tillage farmers are going to face a lot of changes over the next number of years. So Andrew is going to try and cover, look at where EU policy is going between now and say 2030. We know there are targets there to reduce pesticide usage or plant protection product usage by 2030. So he's going to talk to us about EU policy and seeing where that is going, what the alternatives are, and how that might affect then farmers on a practical level when they're trying to do their day-to-day job. So it'll be an interesting talk in terms of seeing where the direction of policy is going and what practical effect that's going to have on farmers.
And of course, that lines itself up fairly well to this integrated pest management, of which you were going to talk a little bit on. You're also taking the stage on Friday as well. What's the headline bits that you have lined up for farmers to listen to?
Yeah, so I suppose, Michael, again, as you say, like the policy, the EU policy is going to direct us down the route of using integrated pest management, which is using all the tools, not just the plant protection products, using all the methods that we have to try and control, whether it be pests, weeds, fungus, whatever it happens to be, or fungi, whatever it happens to be. So basically, I'm involved in a project called IPM Works. So basically what that project is looking at or trying to do is encourage farmers to look at more cultural control methods of the different problems that they have all across Europe. And the project is a kind of a peer-to-peer learning project. So whereby farmers from Ireland have gone to other countries like Denmark, the likes of Scotland, to look at what they're doing over there and how they're getting over some of the problems that they have. The guys this year went on a very interesting trip over to Denmark to look at grass weed control over there, and it's a nod to where maybe we're going over the next couple of years if we're not careful. So it's looking at some of these cultural control methods that we use, looking at how we make decisions in order to use some of the plant protection products and use them more sparingly if we possibly can. So it's about using as many tools as we possibly can. And that's, I suppose, the nub of what IPM Works is all about.
So, Shay, along with all of that, do you have some practical solutions for farmers to implement this autumn?
Yeah, you're right, Michael. Some of the farmers are carrying out, things on their farms, like around aphid monitoring and things like that, or grass weed control strategies. So those type of things would be something that we'll be talking about on the day. So hopefully, like when farmers or anybody, any attendees attend the forum, they'll go away with some food for thought about what they can do on their own farms to change their own practices, maybe, or alter their own practices to try and control some of these problems.
Okay, so John, I'm just going to bring you in there. John, in the second session in the forum, we're going to look at how tillage can play its part in reducing some of the effects of climate change. Professor Gary Lanigan from Teagasc, he's going to deliver the first talk. What's the area that Gary's going to cover?
Yes, Michael. Gary, we're very lucky to have Gary on board. Gary would be Principal Research Officer in Johnstown Castle and would have been one of the main authors of the recently launched MAC, the Marginal Abatement Cost Curve. Again, this is the third edition of the MAC that has been released, and we're going back as far as 2012 for the first one. But the really, really important part from a tillage perspective, I suppose, and what we're really looking forward to is that some of the measures that have been introduced and based on recent research, even since the last edition in 2019, has brought in the additions that we can have in the environmental, in improving our environment with the likes of cover crops, strong corporation measure, which is very strongly out there at the moment, and the use and reuse of manures, organic manures to cropland. So again, these are very exciting, that because there may have been measures that some people have been trying along the way, but now we have concrete research evidence to base that they're actually working as well. So I'm looking forward to Gary's talk on that.
Yeah, so I suppose, John, I've heard Gary talking on many different occasions, and he's one of these excellent speakers who can get the complex delivered in something simple that pretty much anyone, especially the likes of me, can actually understand, because it is a fairly complex area. And I suppose the real beauty about it is that I suppose tillage is starting out from a low point in terms of being a greenhouse gas emitter, but there are loads of those practical elements that you're talking about there that tillage farmers can actually bring it down even lower.
Absolutely.
John, you were also talking at the forum as well after Gary. You might just give us the headlines about a few things that you were going to cover.
Yes, Michael. Currently, I'm working on the signpost tillage program, and overall, the signpost tillage is one section of the overall signpost program, which is dealing with how to bring out and demonstrate various measures from the likes of the MAC, from Gary Lanigan's work, and how to dispel that out into our industry to improve our greenhouse gas emissions and go towards our targets. So just specifically on my aspect, signpost tillage is part of the overall program. I'll outline the program itself and how it works with signpost advisory, which are using the newly launched AgNav tool, which will be an on-farm, all-Irish tool for measuring your greenhouse gas emissions and knowing your number on farm. And also how we're working with the likes of LIDAR and the Soil National Observatory, gathering different research soil-based information then as well. So the aspect of mine will be to to bring that type of information and outline our 10 demonstration farms and the work I've been doing on that.
That sounds really interesting. And we're going to finish up that section with Darren Allen, a farmer from Cork, who is a participant in the Signpost Farm Programme. What's Darren going to cover?
Darren is an exciting farmer. He's working on medium heavy clay soils down in Shanagarry in County Cork, and he's on a mixed cropping system, mainly with winter wheat, spring barleys. He grows beans and winter oilseed rape. The one thing I really like about Darren and his attitude is his willingness to try new things and to do different changes on his farm make a difference. For example, like this year, he's growing winter rye for the first time, and again he'll be able to talk about that and his experience with it. He also has trialed a neighbour's strip till drill and versus his own plough-based system, and he was doing a little bit of min-till as well. So again, he's constantly trying new things. He has changed over to protected urea, and I'm sure he'll give his view on that, and his own small trial on various nitrogen products that he's been using as well. So what he's trying to do all of the time is improve his efficiencies and improve the way he farms and farm more greenhouse gas, improve his greenhouse gas emissions as well. Also, biodiversity is very important to him on the farm. He has lots of areas of native woodland, and he's put in an area of pollinator plants this year with the National Parks and Wildlife Service as well. So again, he's constantly changing, and there's lots to look forward to there with Darren.
John, thanks very much for that, and thanks very much, Shay, for giving us an update as well.
No problem, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
So lastly then at the forum, there's a discussion about the future of tillage farming in Ireland with all of the major stakeholders who will participate in that discussion. So at the moment, just to give a bit of background to that, at the moment, the Department of Agriculture are preparing or have a group called the Tillage Vision Group, and they are preparing a report for government to, I suppose, really address some of the issues within the industry. And really the aim, I suppose, of it is to really increase the area, but some would argue it'll be a fair element of it just to maintain the area of tillage in the future. So what that report is trying to do is trying to identify areas which can develop the industry a bit further and probably aim to also identify and remove some of the roadblocks which are hindering the industry's development. So within the forum, we're going to have all of the major stakeholders there. We're going to have the IFA, the IGG or the Irish Grain Growers, IFAC tax consultants, the FCI or the Farmers Contractors Ireland there as well, and also Teagasc participating in that. So within that, we're asking each of the stakeholders to propose some solutions to increase the sustainability and I suppose, how the tillage industry can develop over time. But I suppose really most importantly for people turning up on the day is there is an opportunity for farmers or industry from the floor to put their ideas or proposals forward and to be discussed by that panel. So for all of these solutions and ideas, we will be gathering all of these together and delivering those to the department to hopefully end up in that final Tillage Vision report, which will be sent to the government. So the debate will be chaired very ably, as always, by Andy Doyle. So I'm really looking forward to a really good discussion on that. And this is a really excellent chance for you as a listener to turn up on the day and to participate in that discussion. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this week. I'd like to thank John and Shay for joining me on the show. They're excellent as usual. There's a couple of things to note before I go. First of all, there's a Signpost Tillage field event, which is happening on Don Summers' farm down in Oilgate, County Wexford. Don is one of our Signpost farmers, and Don will be talking about how he's managing his farm to reduce water pollution, to increase the amount of organic manures and store incorporation on his farm. He's also using cover crops, but really where Don is excelling is his use of precision nutrient management, both with organic manures and also with chemical fertilizers. He's one of the best farmers I've heard talk in a long time. So if you can make time in your diary, September the 14th at 10 o'clock down in Oilgate in Wexford. So make time in your diary for that. Finally, I just wanted to the final reminder as regards the Tillage Forum, which is on Friday, September the 8th in the Kilashee Hotel in Naas. Please go online on www.teagasc.ie/events to find more details on it, and also to register online. The best opportunity for you to contribute to the conference is to turn up in person. We will be broadcasting certain portions of it live through Zoom, so you need to register online if you're going to trying to participate that way. But look, really looking forward to meeting you there, and I hope you can make time in your diary for that. So finally, don't forget, if you enjoyed the podcast, then recommend it to a friend or colleague, and as always, rate and follow on Apple or Spotify so you never miss an episode. And for more information, go to teagasc.ie. I'm Michael Hennessy. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with more tillage news and advice.